But yeah, how about we go straight into my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet first impressions slash review. It's not going to be a full review. I'm still working on a scripted review, but these are just sort of my first impressions. I already beaten the main game. Now I'm in the post game. So yeah, I think I have a good enough knowledge to work from to really give my, I mean, I was gonna say I'm biased, but it's not really because I love Pokemon, but I'm still gonna be objective about it. But these are my impressions, so to speak. So how about we go over the positives first? So I will say straight out the bat, this is one of the best gameplay loops to date from a mainline Pokemon game. Now, I'm not saying it's better than Arceus because there were a lot of things that Arceus did really, really well than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did. And I think the gameplay loop is just a little bit better than Arceus. Arceus, after a while, I mean, the main goal is to complete the Pokedex. It gets a little repetitive trying to capture all these Pokemon over and over and over again just to get, you know, a Pokedex entry filled. So at least Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is a little more traditional in that sense, where you just capturing one Pokemon that completes the Pokedex entry for that Pokemon. So disregarding that, it is, to my opinion, the best gameplay loop to date from a mainline Pokemon game. I like everything from the way that the game is designed, how it just basically lets you into the world after an hour, not even an hour, it's probably like 30-45 minute long tutorial or like introduction into the game. But after that, it basically opens up the world and says you got 3 different routes to go. But at the same time, there is a 4th route, which is literally, quite literally, just go and explore. Now, there is an issue with the way that at least the open world exploration goes, as far as like opening the world to you. But I'll go into the negatives of the game because that is a huge negative for me. But just the main concept of the game opening it up and saying you can go either the gym trainer, the gym badges route, or you can go towards the other 2 routes, which I won't talk about. It's been 2-3 weeks already since the game released, but I still don't want to spoil a lot of the story elements. So just know that there are 3 different routes that you can take this game, and all of them are needed to be completed to get to the ending or to the post game, so to speak. But just the main fact that it opens up that way is pretty cool. It's something new for the Pokemon series, and I really, really commend them for doing that. As well as the battling is a little bit more streamlined. Of course, now everything's the overworld. I think Pokemon Sword and Shield were the first ones. No, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were some of the first 3D games that really opened up, you know, how you see Pokemon in the overworld and how you interact with them and how you battle with them. I think now Pokemon has really found a good compromise between being straight up just overworld and you can just capture them and you can just battle them and seeing them in the overworld with what they did in Scarlet and Violet. Now the auto battles, great idea. You don't always have to fight every single Pokemon. You don't always want to fight every single Pokemon to just gain XP. So the auto battles really make that easy for you. You just send out your first basically your first Pokemon in your party to battle these Pokemon, and you know, the game does some math based on your Pokemon, the type advantages, etc., and then you either defeat that Pokemon or your Pokemon gets to a low enough level that, you know, it'll just come back to you and be like, mommy, I am hurt. But yeah, that still gives you XP, not as much as full on battling it, you know, in the traditional way, but it's still a good workaround, and it really streamlines a lot of the XP, at least XP farming for me. So I really like that gameplay loop side of the things. Of course, a lot of the quality life improvements from Arceus, you know, learning moves, forgetting moves, that's still in the game. This game now also gives you the ability to ask your Pokemon for advice when learning new moves, of course. So I think that's a really cool feature about the game, and I really appreciate that, because there's sometimes, you know, I'm not the most strategic Pokemon player. I'm very offensive when it comes to Pokemon moves. I'm not strategic in the sense that I'm not going to keep status moves that affect status so much. So asking for advice from the Pokemon, and the Pokemon actually telling you, hey, I don't want to learn this. I don't think it's going to help with the, you know, how you're playing the game. I don't think it I don't think any of my current moves are any worse than the move you try and learn. So let's just forget it. So I think that's a really cool new update to the game. I really do appreciate it. Being able to skip cutscenes, being able to right off the bat make the text speed go faster. Just a lot of new things that made this game a lot more enjoyable. It's really minute things, but it's things that go such a long way, and I appreciate that the Pokemon company Game Freak is listening to what fans are asking. The music, I mean, has there ever been a single Pokemon game that has bad music? I don't think there is. I think Pokemon composers are some of the best in the business, and this game is by far one of the best soundtracks I've listened from a Pokemon game. I'm not gonna say it's the best, of course, but it's so well crafted. It's just so well made. The Terra Raid battles are my favorite theme in the whole game. It fills me with so much joy, so much excitement whenever I get into these Terra Raids. It's just amazing. I appreciate what Pokemon Company always does when it comes to music. I'm a musician myself, so music is always going to play a huge role in games. I could play a decent game, even sometimes like lower than average game, but if it has great music, I'll probably forgive it. I'll forgive a lot of things because just music is such a huge part for me for games. So I appreciate what Pokemon did as far as the music. Whenever you get to a gym battle and you're about to fight at the gym trainer, just the way that the music just crescendos into the climax of the song, it's just amazing. They did a phenomenal job with it. So that is one of the best things of this game. The new Pokemon designs are pretty lit. They are amazing. They are really fun. I think they did a good job, at least with the starters, tying it into like. See, well, this is one negative. I will kind of interject here with one negative. This game is obviously, the region is inspired from Spain, Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula. But I will say that they took some elements from countries that Latin American countries that don't have a lot to do with the Iberian Peninsula. They don't have a lot to do with Spain. They don't have to do a lot with Portugal, except that they speak the language. They were colonized by them, and that's it. And that kind of worries me that Pokemon, by including elements from those cultures in this game, are gonna overlook, the possibility of making a region inspired by Latin America. And I think that's a huge, that would be a terrible decision on their part. But I hope that I'm wrong. But I will say that some of the Pokemon designs, they're based off of Hispanic, so I can cover the whole Hispanic diaspora, so to speak. But of course, I'm not gonna go through the evolutions, but a lot of these final evolutions, they're based off of, for example, Carnival, Day of the Dead in Mexico. I don't even know why. I'm not even going to talk about Sprigatito's final evolution because I think that's the one that kind of sticks out, that it's not really like related to Spain and Portugal, but still I think the new Pokemon are so cool. Graveyard, the little ghost dog Pokemon, I think is so cool. Their story is so nice. I mean, Pokemon and their lore, they do an amazing job when it comes to that. I love reading the Pokedex entries. They just open up the Pokemon designs and really makes you understand why they designed certain Pokemon a certain way. So I can appreciate that. I'm enjoying it. I'm playing it through it. The legendaries are great. I don't care what people say. I think Koraidon and Miraidon, they're some of the best legendaries out there. They're goofy as hell. I think legendaries being less serious is always a good thing. It makes them more personable. It makes them more cute in a way. So I appreciate that. So yeah, Pokemon designs are amazing. If you haven't played the game, at least get it, play 10 hours and at least evolve your starters, and you'll see why a lot of people are liking the designs so far. Terra Raids are a huge new element, gimmick, whatever you want to call it. In this game, of course, in Sword and Shield we have the Dynamaxing. Here we have Terra Raids, and they're similar to at least the Dynamax stance, but I think they're a lot faster. They're a lot quicker. The ease of access is a lot, you know, it's a lot easier to get into a terror raid, and it's a lot easier to just get it over with. You know, terror raids, it depends, you know, they have varying difficulties, but still they're very, very fun to engage in. Even online, it is one of the, I think it's one of the best things about the post game, and even during the game, you can, you know, get into terror raids. They're unlocked as soon as you open up the, you know, the main story. So I think letting the players already get into terror raids so early in the game is going to help them so much throughout the story, you know, throughout their whole gameplay, to be honest, because you know, the terror raids give you a lot of cool little things like experience candies, some treasures here and there. So it's always good to engage in these terror raids, and they're so widely available that, you know, it's just a cool thing to get into. And of course, now supposedly they were supposed to be real time, you know. In Dynamax it was all turn-based, but this is more real time, kind of like Pokemon Go raids, but it's still a little janky when it comes to these terror raids and trying to all input your moves at the same time. You know, the game kind of struggles to catch up with all the inputs, that even the health bar, the raid Pokemon's health bar is kind of glitched. You don't know if you're actually, you know, hitting it. You don't know if it's already dead. Like sometimes the health bar will go all the way to 0, but the game will still give you the opportunity to input a move even though the Pokemon is supposed to be dead. So I don't, there's certain things that they still have to be, you know, ironed out, of course, polished a little bit, which I'll talk in depth in the negatives. But terror raids, they're super cool. I think they look amazing. I think terrorization, I hope I'm saying that right. Terrorization, I guess. It makes the Pokemon look so cool, so shiny. It looks so pretty. I think the lighting effects when you turn your Pokemon into, you know, their terraforms is some of the best animations so far in the series, and it's so pretty to look at. I mean, you turn into a crystal, you got lights hitting you from all different, you're reflecting light. It just looks beautiful, and I really like the jewels. I think the jewels gave the Pokemon a really funny look, but they still, you know, they're very nice. Like I love the flying Terra Jewel, which is basically just balloons, like crystal balloons on top of your head, top of your Pokemon's head, which I think is adorable. It's hilarious. You know, it's a callback to Pikachu. So it's super cool. It's super fun. And I really like the designs of the at least the Terra Pokemon. But of course, not everything can be great, especially with Pokemon games. I'm sorry, I just gotta say it. But some of the huge negatives, and this has been talked about, you know, extensively, and I kind of don't even want to really spend a lot of time in it, because of course we already got a couple of patches. We had the initial patch, and then we had the 1.1 patch, which a lot of people were expecting to get performance issues corrected, but yeah, that didn't happen. And of course, performance issues, you got stuttering. You know, the game will stutter, it'll lag a little bit. You got drop frames everywhere, and the characters and just the game in general. I don't think the game ever hits 30 FPS consistently. Some characters in the background, their frames are gonna drop exponentially because the game is trying to like save resources to just, you know, render the whole game. It's a big map, but still it just looks pretty bad when you're in at least in the later areas of the game. And I think it has to do with not so much the Switch, because the Switch can handle games, you know, open world games pretty fine. It's got Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild runs pretty great for the most part on the Switch, and you know, it was a release. Is a release title, of course. So I think more of these issues, of course, have to do on the development side, and it's pretty noticeable. Flickering, you got pop-in of assets. Pokemon don't really render really close to you if you're, you know, dashing through the map. They'll pop in like 4 or 5 steps ahead of you. Sometimes you won't be able to like dodge them because they just pop in so close to you, and just it gets a little annoying the more you play into the game, and the more you get into like the later areas, because the later areas, anything that's very water heavy, I've noticed, you know, whenever it's raining really hard in the game, the game just like drops to 15 frames per second. You also get, whenever you're in the water, when you're close to like waterfalls, wherever there's water movement, it just completely destroys the performance on this game, and it's really sad. It's really sad because I've always said this. Pokemon is a huge company. I don't have to say it, but it is bigger than Star Wars. It is bigger than most of Disney franchises, and it doesn't make sense to me why we keep getting these subpar games. Of course, scheduling, they're under really strict deadlines, so I can understand that. This is only their second, or I mean, this is only their third game. I say that only their third. I mean, by now you would expect them to understand how 3D games work, but still, I just hope Pokemon takes this as a lesson that, you know, games need more time. They need more time in the oven, and I hope it's something that they're, you know, serious about, because, you know, we got the patch 1.1. Pokemon addressed the issues directly. They said that performance, of course, is not the best and that they're working on it. So at least that's a good sign. And, you know, call me naive, but I will always expect for things to be, you know, to come, the outcome to be always be positive. So here's to hoping, at least. But yeah, performance sucks right off the bat throughout the whole game. It just sucks. All right, cool. Graphics, textures are less than desirable, of course. Honestly, some parts of this game look really good. Other parts look terrible. It honestly looks like a last gen, not even last gen, like 2 gens prior. Like, it looks really that bad, and I think that part is really unacceptable. I think textures, stuff like graphics, I think those are things that they were put, you know, in the priority list at the end, because of course what you want is a well-performing game. But I think it comes to a point where you just can't compromise on it so much, because you end up getting a really ugly looking game. And as far as I try not to be the type of person who's like, oh, the graphics look terrible, I hate this game. I mean, come on, Pokemon is one of my favorite series. Graphics have never been an issue for me. Have never been a deal breaker, but it gets to a point where it is a little annoying. It is a little annoying. It is a little frustrating to see just how bad certain parts of this game look. I mean, the environments just look terrible. They look like if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. It just looks bad in certain parts. So yeah, that is a huge negative for me. Another thing that is more so design based that is a negative for me, and this is something that I already referenced in the positives, is the exploration. The exploration is not as developed as I expected. Of course, the game really opens up once you get through the tutorial, but it still kind of limits the exploration, because a lot of the areas are not reachable unless you progress further in the story. So in a sense, yes, this is an open world game, so to speak, but at the same time, even the game's design, you know, the way the story goes, it limits how far you can explore. Now, of course, these things are also, you know, evident in games such as Breath of the Wild, like stamina. If you don't have good enough stamina, you might not be able to reach, you know, the highest mountain in the game. Or, you know, if you don't get the what do you call it? I forget the name of it, the parasail. The thing you use to glide around. Early in the game, you don't get it until you complete the tutorial. So there are certain things that kind of limit the exploration, and I understand why they do it. You know, they want you to like kind of follow a certain path, or they kind of want you to progressively get better at the game, so you're not, you know, constantly being destroyed by wild Pokemon, by a wild Staravia or whatever. So I understand that, but it's a little disappointing that you got to complete just at least one path in order for your mount to be able to climb, for example, walls, or glide through large plots of land. So yeah, so that aspect of exploration kind of sucks. As well, some of the areas, some of the environments feel pretty empty at times. It's just wildly expansive land, and I had the same issue with games such as Breath of the Wild. It's just huge, and there's nothing to do. It's just hills sometimes. Of course, in Pokemon, you got little Pokeballs, little items everywhere, little shining treasures here and there that you can find. But I was never, there was never a sense of wonder whenever I found a treasure. Whenever I found Gimme Gold, a treasure chest, I was like, oh, that's Gimme Gold. Let me interact with it. Oh, it's a Pokemon battle. There wasn't the same wonder that I got whenever I saw, for example, the dragons in Breath of the Wild coming out of like a little lake, that like that sort of wonder of like, damn, what's that over there? Let me go look at it. What is that over there? There was never that sense of wonder because a lot of the environments, at least outside of the towns, it was a little empty. It was a little boring at times, but I think the biggest wonder of exploration is looking far in the distance and you see a group of Pokemon and one of them is a different color and you're like, that's a shiny. Let me go straight for it. Let me run at it. But that's as much as it is. And exploration is a huge part of why I love open world games. And I think this game really kind of hinged a lot on just Pokemon and not so much environment. They don't really care about that. There's not a lot of storytelling, environmental storytelling, so to speak, when it comes to exploration. A huge issue I also have with Pokemon in this game, and this is more so like a design or I think quality of life. Of course, shiny Pokemon that are different color than, you know, their normal colors. They're rare. They're extremely rare. They're really sought after. People like, that's basically the post game, just finding shiny Pokemon. In Arceus, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, there were a lot of prompts that would tell you a Pokemon is shiny. Of course, you know, the obvious shinies you can just tell based off the color, but for example, I've caught 3 shiny Pokemon so far, and all of those 3 color variations are very hard to spot. If that shiny Pokemon is there by itself and it's not in a pack of similar Pokemon, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's a shiny. But all 3 of them, I only knew they were shiny because they were in a group of Pokemon, of the same Pokemon. And the game doesn't tell you that they're shiny other than just looking at it. Legends Arceus would literally, there would be visual cues, there would be audio cues that would tell you, hey, this Pokemon is shiny, even before you interact with it. They would sparkle and you would hear like a little cue, an audio cue of like, there's a shiny Pokemon over there, go and get it. Now, of course, that kind of defeats the purpose of finding shiny Pokemon because they're sought after, they're rare, but it just doesn't make sense of having it in a previous game and then taking it out for your mainline game. I don't understand it. I think it was super cool. I think it was really fun to, you know, be playing the game and you hear it and you're like, where is it? Where is it? Oh my God, oh my God. It adds so much excitement to the gameplay loop, and it sucks that they took it out of this. Like, I don't understand it. Battling is I love one thing I loved about Pokemon Arceus, and something that they did right was the different battle methods. But that sort of thing, it made it easier. For example, if you have a 60 level Pokemon, your first party Pokemon, and you're fighting, you find a Pokemon you really want, and you know, you only have extremely leveled Pokemon, but you want this 20 leveled Pokemon, it would help a lot in those instances, you know, to really kind of hold back your punches and try and like bring down that Pokemon's health to, you know, the red bar and make it easier for you to catch. Now it's either normal attack or terastallizing your Pokemon, which just makes it stronger. So it's weird. I don't understand why they took it out. It added so much more strategy to the game. It just made it, it made it so much fun. And I hope they bring it back. I really hope they bring it back, because it was just very helpful. It was very, very helpful in the gameplay loop. Another thing, and this is something that I complain about in Legends Arceus as well, but Jesus Christ, they literally took 5 steps forward and they took 10 steps back. This is incredible. Customization. You cannot change your character's costume. You cannot change their clothes. They're set to 4 different outfits: summer, spring, winter, and autumn. That's it. They're all different variations of the same school uniform. Of course, you can buy little accessories here and there, like a hat, glasses, shoes, and your backpack, and I think your gloves. And I think that's it. That's pretty much it. That's as far as customization goes. Why would you take it away? Legends Arceus has had really cool outfits. You can mix and match different pieces of clothing. It just doesn't make sense. Why would they take it out of this? Like, I understand you're a college student. You're just a student. I understand that. But once you're out of school, which is basically the tutorial part of the game, Why would you keep wearing your uniform when you're exploring out in the world? No kid does that. Nobody gets out of school and he's like, hey, I really like my uniform, let me keep it. No, I went to a school that used uniforms up until high school. Bro, I used to take off that shit as soon as I stepped into my door. Like, I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't understand why they did it. So yeah, and of course, skin tones, hairstyles still lacking. Of course, they're making little progress here and there, at least for hairstyles, but still, it's not enough. In the year of our Lord 2022, why are we still having to limit ourselves? You know, these games are global. Not everybody is from Japan. Not everybody's just white. Like, there's so many different styles. There's so many different skin color. It's just incredible that Pokemon still just doesn't implement any upgrades as far as this goes. And it's not so much anymore sad. It's disappointing now. Like, it's just, I don't understand it. But it is what it is. Some of my hopes for Pokemon going forward is that they implement stuff, like I already said, from Arceus, because they did things right. Even like changing Pokemon, changing the Pokemon you want to send out first. That was very easy. You didn't have to go to a menu. You literally just click a button, 2 buttons, and you would swap the Pokemon you want to throw out into the overworld. That was really cool. That made, you know, the gameplay loop a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot more streamlined, which was very cool. Even choosing what Pokeballs you wanted to use to capture a Pokemon. Of course, the whole, you know, mechanic of capturing Pokemon just out in the overworld without having to battle them is completely gone from Scarlet and Violet, which I don't understand. Bring that back and make it so that you just choose the Pokeball right off the bat without having to go into a menu. Yeah, those are the things that I really hope they implement. Of course, performance patches. The main issue for me is going to be stuttering and drop frames. Just performance. I don't care if the game stays looking like a Wii era game. I don't care. Honestly, I already said graphics is not that big of a deal for me. I don't play Pokemon for the graphics, but performance is such a huge disappointment, and I need it. I need those patches. I need it, man, because if it gets to a point where I don't see any updates, even before the DLC, because I know there's going to be DLC, I'm going to be extremely upset, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop the game. I think that's just going to be it. I'm going to complete my Pokedex, and that's it. And I really don't want to, because I really enjoy this game. I love the game. I haven't stopped playing it. I'm already like 50 hours. I haven't stopped playing it in 2 weeks. But the performance issues get annoying after like 2 or 3 hours of playing. Yeah, but that's it. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, fundamentally a great, fun game. Of course, like any game, it needs updates here and there. It needs some polishing, obviously, but it's still a really fun game. If you're a Pokemon fan, you're gonna love this game. Well, folks, I've been True Fernie. Please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. And also, hey, happy holidays. Our time in this earth is short. Appreciate the people around you. Love your loved ones. Tell them you love them. All right? Hope y'all stay warm. Peace.